He was a billionaire living a life of luxury, but the woman he betrayed while she was in labor holds the key to his redemption. What happens next will shock you, change the way you see love, success, and forgiveness forever. Before we dive into this incredible story, do not forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss our powerful, life-changing content. I used to believe money could silence guilt. I was born in a rented room, where rain leaked through promises. I worked nights, studied mornings, ate failure like dry bread. When my first company collapsed, friends vanished. My father died disappointed. I hardened my heart and called it focus. Success came loud. Awards, jets, applause. I became a millionaire, then more. People bowed to my bank balance. And I betrayed the only woman who loved me before I mattered. While she suffered in labor, counting breaths and fear, I was laughing in a hotel room with a woman who admired my wealth, not my soul. The call came between lies. Her voice was weak, steady, forgiving. She did not accuse. She asked if I was safe. That question broke me. I rushed to the hospital. Too late to hold her hand. Early enough to see her strength. Pain had carved wisdom into her face. She looked at me, like hope still existed. I expected rage. She gave grace. She said success without integrity is just a louder failure. I sold companies. I rebuilt slowly. I learned to listen. I learned to kneel. She taught me discipline, patience, and purpose. She taught me that legacy begins at home. Years later, I became a billionaire, but only after becoming human again. Today, as I stand before thousands, sharing our story, she squeezes my hand, and I feel the weight of the moment pressing on my chest, because the next truth I must reveal will change everything she believes about me. The crowd waits. Lights burn my eyes. My heartbeat sounds louder than applause. I look at her, the woman who rebuilt me, without ever raising her voice. I say the truth trembles when it has been hidden too long. I tell them I was not brave that night. I tell them love did not save me. A woman did. I confess how betrayal follows success. When ego grows faster than character. How money made me powerful, but empty. I feel her fingers tighten. Not in fear. In strength. I speak of the nights she stayed awake with a newborn, while I stayed awake with regret. Of the silence she carried, so our child could sleep in peace. I admit the greatest investment was not my first billion, but the day I chose honesty over reputation. The room breathes with me. I explain how she walked away once, not from love, but from disrespect. How that distance hurt more than any loss I had known. That absence reshaped me. I learned that a man is measured by who he becomes when no one is watching. She returned only after I changed. Not because I begged, because I earned it. We built companies that value people. We funded schools, not to be seen, but to heal. She never asked for credit. She asked for consistency. My voice shakes again as I reach the part I never planned to share. I tell them success came back stronger, only after humility arrived first. I pause, because the next words are not for the audience. They are for her. And as I turn fully toward her, kneeling on the stage, where power once defined me, I realize this moment is not about confession, or forgiveness, or even love, but about a promise I am about to make that will rewrite the rest of our lives. My knee touches the cold floor. The world blurs. Only she is clear. I say her name slowly, like a prayer I once forgot. I promise transparency, not perfection. Presence, not excuses. Truth, even when it costs me everything. I tell her the empire means nothing if it costs her peace. Tears fall. Not loud. Honest. She looks at me, eyes full of years we survived, and years we almost lost. She reminds me softly that love is rebuilt daily, brick by brick, through choices no one applauds. The crowd disappears. I remember the nights I slept in my office, thinking I was sacrificing for family, when I was actually hiding from it. I tell them how she taught me that ambition without compassion creates lonely victories. She helped me face myself. That was harder than bankruptcy. I reveal how I almost lost everything again when success tempted me to forget lessons learned. How she stood firm, not angry, but unmovable. She said growth is not linear. It is a test repeated until the lesson sticks. I rose because she refused to settle. Our child watches from the front row, unknowing of the storms that shaped their future. I feel the weight of legacy. I stand, pull her close, and whisper that the next chapter will be written together, with no shadows left unspoken. But as the applause finally crashes in, my phone vibrates in my pocket, a name from the past glowing on the screen, and I realize the promise I just made is about to be tested sooner and harder than I ever imagined. The screen vibrates again. The name refuses to fade. My past asking for entry through a door I just sealed. I slip the phone away, but the weight stays. She feels it. She always does. Her eyes ask nothing, yet demand everything. I finish the speech with a steady voice, built from years of repair. Backstage smells of metal and sweat. My hands shake, not from fear of loss, but from fear of truth. That woman once watched me choose ambition over accountability. She knows the version of me I buried. I breathe. I remember labor room lights, her pain, my absence, the debt I still repay daily. She walks beside me now, calm, grounded, not clinging, not distant. That is love matured by fire. She says quietly, that promises are proven in moments no one sees. I nod. I delete nothing. I choose to face it. The message is short, urgent, dangerously familiar. She needs help. She says my name like a key. I feel the old pull, the savior illusion. My partner touches my arm, not to stop me, but to remind me who I am now. I tell her I will not decide alone again. We sit together. I open the message fully. Heart steady, hands honest, knowing the next choice will either crown everything we built or expose a weakness I still must confront. The message asks for money, then forgiveness, then silence. I recognize the pattern. I built my ego on it once. My partner reads every word. She does not flinch. She breathes. She says this is not temptation. This is examination. I remember how easily I confused rescue with importance. How I called weakness loyalty. I tell the truth aloud. That part of me still likes being needed. That part frightens me. She nods. Honesty earns oxygen. We talk about boundaries. About mercy without self-betrayal. About helping without hiding. The hallway hums with footsteps. Life continues while choices wait. I draft a reply slowly, with her beside me. Every word visible. I offer assistance through lawyers, through structure, through daylight. No private rooms. No secrets. No rescue missions. I press send. The silence afterward feels heavier than applause ever did. She leans her head on my shoulder. Not because she doubts me, but because growth is tiring. I realize success is not built by avoiding storms, but by choosing who stands with you inside them. We walk toward the exit together. Cameras flash. Doors open. The city waits. And as we step into the night, hand in hand, I feel something unfamiliar rising quietly inside me. Because for the first time, I am not wondering what I might lose, but what I am finally ready to protect next. The air outside is cool, smelling of rain and engines. The city hums like a living thing that never waits for regret. She walks slightly ahead, the way she does when she trusts me, but stays aware. I think about protection, not money, not walls, time, attention, truth spoken early. We get into the car. Leather creaks. Silence settles. I remember the first time I rode in a car like this alone, thinking I had arrived, not knowing I had already drifted. She asks what I feel now. I say exposed. And relieved. She smiles faintly. Because growth often looks like vulnerability. Before it looks like strength. My phone lights up again. Not her. Not the past. It is a board member. Concerned. Nervous. Asking if my public confession will affect investor confidence. I laugh softly. A sound I did not know I was allowed to make. I tell him integrity compounds faster than fear ever could. I hang up. She exhales. Like she has been holding that breath for years. We drive past the hospital, where she labored alone. Lights still on. Lives beginning and breaking. At the same time, I grip her hand tighter. I tell her I am ready to step back from certain deals, to slow growth, to choose alignment over expansion. She does not answer immediately. Wisdom takes time. She finally says that the hardest seasons often return disguised as opportunity. The car stops at a red light. My reflection stares back. Older, steadier. Still unfinished. Ahead, the road splits. One path familiar. Bright, fast, applauded. The other quieter. Longer. Demanding daily courage. The light is about to change. And I feel the weight of choice settling into my chest again. Because the future we protect next will depend on which direction I choose. When my foot finally moves, my foot hovers. The engine idles like it knows me. I hear her voice, calm, grounded, saying that speed never made a life meaningful. Only direction did. The light turns green. I choose the quieter road. The city thins. Billboards fade. My breath deepens. I feel fear rise. Not of failure, but of losing admiration. She senses it. She always senses it. She tells me admiration feeds ego, but respect feeds generations. I think of our child sleeping, unaware of stock prices, aware only of presence. I remember the nights I missed first words, first steps, thinking I was building a future while abandoning the present. I say aloud that I do not want to be admired anymore. I want to be trusted. The car slows. So does my heart. My phone stays silent now, as if the world is waiting to see if I mean it. We pass a construction site. Men working under harsh lights. Sweat. Focus. No applause. I roll down the window. Cold air hits my face. It feels honest. She says this is how rebuilding begins. With discomfort chosen willingly. I nod. Because comfort nearly ruined me once. I think of deals I must decline. Friends I must disappoint. Rooms I may never enter again. The thought hurts. And feels right. The road curves ahead. Unlit, demanding attention. I tighten my grip on the wheel. Aware that discipline is quieter than ambition. But far more faithful. She rests her hand on mine. In that touch, I feel a future not measured in numbers, but in nights I come home early. Mornings I am fully present. Choices I will have to defend alone. And as the car disappears into the darker stretch of road, I realize this journey will ask more of me than success ever did. Because what waits ahead is not failure or triumph, but the daily test of whether I will remain the man I have just chosen to become. The road hums beneath us. Steady, unforgiving. I realize becoming better does not feel heroic. It feels lonely. She watches the darkness ahead. Not afraid of it. Respectful of what it demands. I tell her I am scared. That without ambition, I will disappear. She answers that identity built on titles was never solid ground. We stop near a quiet overlook. City lights flicker below, like memories that once defined me. I step out. Cold gravel under my shoes. Wind presses against my chest. I think of the boy I was, counting coins, dreaming of escape, never dreaming of responsibility. She joins me, shoulder to shoulder. No speeches, just presence. I confess that sometimes I still crave applause. That silence tests me. She says growth does not erase desire. It teaches restraint. I close my eyes, hear distant traffic, feel the weight of tomorrow. There are meetings I must cancel, Investors I must confront. Systems I must dismantle. That rewards speed over substance. I tell her leadership will cost me allies. She says integrity always does. We get back into the car. The path narrows. My phone buzzes again. This time it is my son's caregiver, saying he asked why I was gone so much before. The question lands harder than any accusation. I type a reply slowly, promising breakfast tomorrow. And the day after that, she watches me send it, nods once. The road stretches forward. Unmarked, uncelebrated. I feel the quiet fear of having no excuse left, because from this moment on, every absence will be a choice, every failure a mirror, every success a responsibility. I can no longer outrun. And as the headlights carve through the dark, I understand that the hardest chapter is not behind me, but opening now, demanding proof, not of what I built, but of who I will remain. When the world stops watching, the headlights sweep over empty asphalt, revealing nothing except what is directly ahead. I realize clarity is narrow by design. She tells me the future never arrives all at once. It arrives as decisions disguised as ordinary days. I think of tomorrow morning. A small table, warm bread, a child waiting without knowing why that matters. That thought studies me more than profit ever did. We drive in silence again. Not the old silence of avoidance, but the new kind that allows truth to breathe. I ask her how she learned forgiveness without losing herself. She says forgiveness is not forgetting. It is remembering without surrendering dignity. Those words stay with me. I plan letters I must write, policies I must change, leaders I must disappoint. The cost is clear. So is the reward. I feel grief for the man. I can no longer be ambitious, untouchable, alone. She notices my jaw tighten. Reminds me grief is proof of growth. We pass a school with dark windows. I imagine lights on soon. Voices learning. Futures shaped quietly. I tell her I want to build places where character is promoted faster than confidence. She smiles, because intention becomes real only when it scares you. My phone remains still now, as if the world has stepped back to see what I will do next. The road curves again. A sign warns of limited visibility. I slow down. She says this pace is not weakness. It is control. I nod, feeling the truth settle deeper. Ahead, the horizon begins to pale. Not with sunrise, but with possibility earned through restraint. I keep driving, knowing the next test will not announce itself. Knowing love will ask for consistency. Knowing power will try to return in quieter forms. And as the engine carries us forward, I sense another moment approaching. One that will demand a choice I have not yet prepared for. A choice that will reveal whether this transformation is temporary, or whether I am finally ready to let my life be measured by what I protect. When sacrifice becomes inconvenient, the car crests a hill, and the city disappears completely. No lights, no witnesses, only us, and the road breathing forward. I think about inconvenience. How easily I avoided it before. By throwing money at discomfort. She tells me inconvenience is where values either harden or collapse. We stop at a small diner, still glowing in the dark. Flickering sign. Smell of coffee and oil. I hesitate. This place offers no prestige. She steps out first. Inside, a tired waitress smiles, not knowing my name, not caring. I feel strangely light. We sit in a cracked booth. My hands rest on the table, unprotected by status. I notice how she watches people, not to judge, to understand. I realize leadership begins here, where no one is impressed. My phone vibrates again. This time it is a proposal. A shortcut. Huge numbers. Fast returns. It would secure everything. And quietly undo all of this. I feel the old rush surge. Warm, dangerous, familiar. She does not look at the phone. She looks at me. She says nothing. Because she knows. This decision must be mine. The waitress pours coffee. Steam rises. My reflection wavers in the cup. I think of my son's question, of labor room lights, of the promise made on my knees. My thumb hovers again, this time over acceptance. I understand now. That temptation does not arrive as evil. It arrives as efficiency. The diner hums softly around us. I take a breath. That feels like crossing a line. Aware that whatever I choose next will not only shape our future, but quietly teach my child what kind of man survives success. And as the screen glows in my palm, waiting for my answer, I realize this moment will decide whether the road behind me was a detour or the beginning of something. I am still learning how to carry forward. I put the phone down. The proposal waits silently, but my hand no longer trembles. She watches me carefully. Not judgment. Observation. The kind that teaches accountability without forcing it. I look around the diner. Old booths, cracked floors. The smell of coffee and fried eggs. Ordinary, unpretentious. It reminds me that life is measured in moments unnoticed, not in deals celebrated. I tell her quietly that I have spent my life chasing approval, thinking money could fix every failure. She nods, because she knows how hard it is to admit the truth, even when it stares you in the face. I reach across the table, and she takes my hand. I feel warmth, steadiness, a gravity I cannot escape. I say I am ready to refuse shortcuts, to face discomfort, to rebuild everything on principles that do not bend. She smiles faintly. Her eyes glint like the labor room lights, where she had carried more courage than I could have imagined. I realize I will still face doubt. I will still face people who whisper about my past. I will still face moments when profit tempts me more than integrity. But now I am learning that the greatest victories are not counted in currency. They are counted in constancy, in the quiet decision to remain honorable when no one watches. The diner grows quieter. A radio hums a soft tune. The waitress wipes down tables. Everything is ordinary, yet it feels monumental. She leans closer and says, "This is the moment you prove who you really are." I nod, swallowing the weight of her words. The phone buzzes again. Another message from the world I am leaving behind. I glance at it once and choose silence, because some battles must be fought without haste. Some promises must be honored without witnesses. The engine starts as we leave. The night stretches ahead. Dark, uncertain, demanding. I feel a strange exhilaration. Not the thrill of success, the thrill of living honestly. And as the headlights pierce the empty road, I sense that the next challenge will arrive sooner than I expect. Testing every lesson learned, every ounce of patience, every fiber of love and courage I have been taught by the woman who saved me, long before wealth ever could. The sun rises slowly, casting gold across streets we have never noticed. I breathe it in like a benediction, feeling the weight of nights spent chasing illusions finally lift. She sits beside me, hair catching the light, face calm, unwavering. I realize she has always been my compass. We stop at the school we helped build, the one that started with no applause, no headlines, just faith and small action. Children run past, laughing, their voices piercing the quiet with life. I see my own son among them, eyes wide, heart open, not measuring worth by what I own, but by what I stand for. I kneel, watching him, and understand that legacy is invisible until it touches another soul. She takes my hand. I feel every scar, every betrayal, every failure. We survived together. And I know now that wealth, without love, without honor, without patience, is hollow. I think of the labor room, of the nights I was absent, of the temptations I resisted too late, and I vow silently that no ambition will ever again cost the people I cherish most. I turn to her, gratitude heavy in my chest, and she smiles, not because I succeeded, but because I finally understand what success truly means. It is not in towers of gold, nor in applause, nor in fleeting admiration. It is in integrity, in patience, in the courage to face yourself honestly, and in the love that strengthens you when you are weakest. I realize now that every hardship, every betrayal, every late-night failure was a lesson meant to teach me how to measure life correctly by the people you protect, the promises you keep, and the strength you find when you choose to do the right thing. Even when no one is watching, we walk forward together. The city behind us, the future ahead. And I know that true wealth is the life you build with love, honor, and unwavering courage. A life worth leaving behind. The story ends, but the lesson stays. Success is hollow without integrity. Love is strongest when tested. And the greatest triumph is becoming a person worthy of both. Thank you for listening to this heartfelt story. If it moved you, please share it, leave a comment below, and remind someone you are never alone.